Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to your September horoscopes for your zodiac sign. Now, this is how you're going to read for your sign. You're going to read first for your rising sign. If you do not know your rising sign, you want to go on a free 99 website like AstroSeek or astro.com. You punch in your data, your date of birth, location, and time, and then you will see your rising sign, which is also the ascendant. Then you're going to read for your ascendant sign. This is how I do the monthly forecasts because this will give you a bigger picture of where the transits are going through your own personal houses. Now, as a disclaimer, like always, this is based on just your rising sign. There's other things to take into consideration, like if you have any natal placements in and around the degrees that I mention. Another thing to keep in mind is that not all transits will impact you because they just won't. Like, that's why you want to look at the degree of the transit and if you have any placements around that specific transit. Try not to get into this mindset of, is this good or bad? Because only you can perceive of something as good or bad. Something that might be a challenging aspect for me or its transit might actually be something that ends up being a blessing in disguise later on. So I try not to say what is good or bad. I'll say, this is an auspicious day to start something. This might bring blessings down the road. This is a challenging transit that you might need to lean into, or you might be triggered on this day. That's how I try to do the forecast so that you are prepared and you're not blindsided by certain things that might happen. You also have to take into consideration your profection year, so your time lord, different like midlife transits. You know, there's people going through their Saturn return right now, which is a different experience than if you weren't going through a Saturn return. Some people are going through their midlife transits. They're going through their simultaneous Pluto and Neptune square. So there's all these different layers to take into consideration when you listen to this. And like I said, collectively, 2025, we're all going through massive changes. We're all being asked to show up in different ways to really work through our own bullshit, to heal our trauma. And then individually, we can narrow that down to certain things that we are going to be focusing on in our own transits. So, if you want to learn more about your own specific natal chart, I am teaching Astrology 101. I opened up my star school that starts October 6th. It's a 12-week class. We meet for 2 hours every Monday between 12 and 2 p.m. And I'm going to teach you how to read your natal chart so that when you listen to the transits and you remember, oh, I have a 5-degree sun in Aries. So then next year, the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries is going to impact me. Stuff like that. It's really important to understand your natal chart when you listen to these transits, because like I said, not all transits are going to impact you. And also not all transits impact people the same way. So that is one way you can go deeper with me. And I mean, obviously you're listening to this. So if you are a Patreon member, you're getting this at the top of the month. If you want to become a Patreon member so that you could receive this in the beginning of the month versus like when it's, we're already going into mid-month, then you can be in the North Node. I believe I call it the North Node tier. It's $10 a month. And you can also listen to the monthly forecast that I do with Stephanie Campos, which we go day by day, every single day of the month. In these monthly transits, I only really talk about the ones that would impact your rising sign, the most important ones. Obviously, the 2 lunations and any of your chart rulers, your planetary ruler changing signs or making significant aspects. If you want to come along with me every week in the forecast where I break it down day by day, that's free 99 on YouTube. But if you want to support my work, you can join the first tier of my Patreon, which you just pay $5. I think it's $5.55 a month to support my work. So that is how to engage with the content of the monthly forecasts. I obviously can't answer all of the questions you have if you are not a Patreon member. This is another benefit of being a member because if you're not a Patreon member and you're watching it in the general public, you're already catching this forecast in like mid-month when I've already, spent a lot of time putting this out for my Patreon members. So they get first priority. And then if you're watching just the clips of it, just know that I post the clips for marketing purposes, but there's a whole month of transits that give context to your experience. Because there were a couple of people that just watched the clips last month and they were like, yeah, but I'm a Libra rising and this Venus Cancer conjunction in my 10th house is not auspicious for me. I just got fired from my job. But if you had watched the full month forecast, I said that Venus and Jupiter, just because they're both benefics, doesn't mean that it's all going to be like rainbows and butterflies. So those are the disclaimers. Thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for supporting my work. Let's get to your sign. Hello, Taurus risings. Welcome to your September horoscope. I'm so glad that you're here because your chart ruler is changing signs this month. And actually, 5 planets will be changing signs this month. The first one is Mercury will be going from Virgo to Libra. Then we have your chart ruler, Venus. Then we have Mars. Mars will be going from Libra to Scorpio. The Sun will go from Virgo to Libra. And lastly, on September 1st, which is where we start, Saturn will retrograde back into the sign of Pisces. Now, I would say Aries rising up until, I would say, I guess, Virgo risings, all of you in the fall kind of go through this more private moment in these seasons as we're going into the fall. So all of these planetary movements are kind of happening underneath the horizon line. So I guess let's just start. Saturn is moving back into your 11th house. And Saturn spent like a couple of months in Aries in your 12th house and now is moving back into Pisces to finish up its story there. So Saturn has been here for the last like 3 years. And from May to September, you had a little bit of a reprieve. You had a little bit of a break. The 11th house in astrology is the area of our life where it deals with our long-term goals, our dreams, our desires. And it also is about groups and the communities that we're a part of, friendships also. So having the ruler of your 9th and 10th house in your 11th house, you might have become more serious or had more structure around or boundaries around friendships and the groups that you're a part of. Maybe you decided to become a group member. A group leader. Maybe you decided, to form more boundaries with your friends. This would have been something that you would have been thinking about for a while, though. Like I said, Saturn has been transiting here for 3 years. But now that you're having eclipses here in your 5th and 11th houses, you might have some issues with your friendships, or if your friends are not in alignment with your values at this time, you might be letting some of those people go, or you might be saying to yourself, I don't want to be affiliated with these people anymore. On September 2nd, Mercury will ingress into the sign of Virgo, which is your 5th house. I really like this for you because Mercury is exalted and in its domicile in the sign of Virgo. This is the fifth house, which is the house of good fortune. And it's in a trine to you since you are an earth rising sign as well. So during the month, you might feel more hands on, let's say, with your personal hobbies, your passions, the things that want. This is the part of our chart where this is what lights us up. It's not necessarily what we get up to go to work for. This is not necessarily where we get paid for, right? This is purely like pleasure. This is what I love to do. This is what I want to spend my time doing. This is the romance, sex house. This is the house of children as well, inner child. So this is a month where you can really, I mean, Virgo season in general for you is a time to really focus on the things that make your life worth living. You know, I know that sounds dramatic, but it's really fun to have such it's really fun to have fifth house transits like this. And so every Virgo season for you would be like this. On September 6th, Uranus stations retrograde at 1 degree of Gemini. Now, Mercury also rules your second house of your personal finances and income. So I can see here that maybe the hobbies or maybe the things that you're trying to do having fun are at odds with your personal finances and how much money you personally have. Uranus has been transiting through your first house since 2018, trying to like make yourself like shake something up about yourself, either your physical body or your perception of yourself. The first house is our physical vessel. So now with Uranus going retrograde and it's going to go back into your first this fall and next spring, this is also finishing up that story that Uranus was trying to do in your first house. A lot of Taurus rising since 2018 might have become more interested in like exercising or changing your physical vessel, trying to become more into your eating habits, taking care of your health and your body. Something about you was trying to shift. I mean, Taurus is the most fixed sign of the whole zodiac. You are a fixed earth sign. So change doesn't necessarily come easily, or you're not maybe the one to initiate the change. So having Uranus here was really trying to invite you to change some aspect of yourself. And with Uranus going into your second house since July, Uranus is trying to disrupt and revolutionize the way in which you receive, the way in which you earn and receive your own income and your own resources. So I think the fact that Uranus has been going between these two houses really does talk about needing to do some inner reflection around your own self-worth, your own self-confidence, and the ways in which maybe that has been lacking. Uranus at the end of the day is a disruptor. It wants to change something. So this might have been a destabilizing transit since July, and you're going to get a little reprieve from that from your second house as it goes back to your first and finishes up that story within your physical vessel. Now, on September 7th, we have our first eclipse of the month. This is a total lunar eclipse at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Please adjust for your time zone. And this happens at 15 degrees of Pisces. So this is, again, your 11th house. This is the area of your life where we talk about friendships, groups, affiliations to communities that you might have, but also your long-term goals and dreams. So this is a full moon. Something is ending, something is coming to a close. And I really like this eclipse out of the two this month because the ruler of this lunation is Jupiter in Cancer in your third house. And the moon and Jupiter have mutual reception with each other, which gives it sort of this little nod from the universe that whoever you do let go of in terms of your friendships, maybe you're letting go of a long-term goal that you had that no longer is your wish. And it's kind of saying that if you surrender to this, if you surrender to the old person, the old life that you once had, then the universe will come in and kind of show you signs that you're on the right track. This is a North Node eclipse. So this is something that is going to be something is trying to manifest or make itself be made physical in this realm. And so, as we're all kind of letting go of the old parts of ourselves, the old life that we once had, we also have to be brave enough to allow that part to die. And with that, the people that we attracted at that vibration. So, so a lot of Taurus risings might also be giving up like a situationship, a romantic person that you've just realized that you've been giving too much energy towards this person since the South Node is transiting through your fifth house as well. On September 13th, Mercury in Virgo will conjunct the sun in Virgo at 20 degrees. This is a Kazemi. So this is a great day if you do have a passion project that you want to launch or make publicly aware to the collective. This is a great day to do that because, again, Mercury is, I would say, the best planet to work with when we're picking auspicious dates to launch something, since it does have to do with announcements and news. And it is the messenger of the gods. And also, Mercury does rule commerce, but it's exalted. And anytime a planet goes to the heart of the sun, which is what Kazemi means, it has its roots in Arabic, which means in the heart of. It's kind of extra blessed by the sun. It's in the throne room of the sun. So this could also be a day where you're just really committed to your art, really committed to your hobbies. And you know, if you were born to boomer parents, I was born to boomer parents who also happen to be immigrants. They really they really believe that our hobbies and our passions in life, if they don't make money, are frivolous. And I can look back at my life when there were so many hobbies that I had, and my parents, specifically my mother, she was very much a tiger mom. She only financed them because they would look good on a college application, you know, going to art school and playing the clarinet and doing all these like very artistic things. I was a very creative kid. But then as soon as I got into college, it was like, those things aren't going to make you money. You have to get a real job. And I think that's such a shame. And it's just such a bad way of looking at life, because the creative energy is how we're going to be able to create beyond these systems. Our imagination is something that is a gift from God, gift from the universe, whoever you believe in. And the fact that so many of us, after we're like kids, we're told that that's not like, it's not as important as making money, is just like, it's a crime against humanity, is what I'm trying to say. So for a lot of Taurus risings, I really hope that you take this time, this season, to remember, even in your childhood, like would what would foster your imagination? What did you think about? What were your favorite cartoon characters? What were your favorite movies? And just like kind of lean into that, you know? On September 18th, Mercury will ingress into Libra. So Mercury goes from your fifth house to your sixth house. And when Mercury goes into the sixth house, you could just feel more busy and your mind just like constantly on about your to-do list. And the magic with the sixth house is to work smarter, not harder, because this is the area of our life where we can tend to burn out. And it's a cadent house. So all the cadent houses, 3, 6, 9, and 12, are based on our knowledge and our proximity. So the sixth house, because it is in a quincunx, it's in a 150-degree angle to the ascendant. It doesn't witness the ascendant. This is where some of our blind spots can be a detriment to our health, since this house also represents the house of bad fortune. And it's only like this because, again, if you burn yourself out or if you do too much, and you're not paying attention to your health, this is where this house can lead to burnout. So just make sure that you're cognizant of that, as Mercury, which is the fastest moving planet in the solar system, is going to enter this area of your life. Now, I guess like the positive aspect of this is to have and create routines that support you. When you wake up, don't look at your social media. And I know I have to also like remember to do this. Right before you go to bed, don't look at your phone, and just really be mindful of your health habits at this time. September 19th, Venus will ingress into Virgo, and this is where Venus has its joy. Yes, Venus is in its fall in the sign of Virgo, but this is your chart ruler. So your chart ruler goes into your fifth house. So this is a great time also for romance and sexy time. If you and your partner have been going through a rough patch, or there just hasn't been a spark, this is the time when Venus is in your fifth house to go on dates. This is also a time to, again, romanticize your life, take yourself out on a date. And yeah, just like, again, romanticizing your life is so important at this time. I said that Venus is in its fall in Virgo because Venus is exalted in Pisces, but at the end of the day, it's a benefic. So, what could end up happening with Venus in its fall in your fifth house is being too picky, being too much of a perfectionist, being judgmental. Just try not to go into those aspects of Venus and Virgo. However, obviously, still have discernment for the energies you are calling in at this time. On September 21st, there's a solar eclipse, a partial solar eclipse at 3:54 p.m. Eastern Time at 29 degrees of Virgo. So this is a new moon. So all new moons talk about new beginnings and a reset. However, this is a south node eclipse. So like I said, something is trying to be purged, released, or cleansed out. And this one is a little difficult because this new moon solar eclipse is opposing Saturn in Pisces in your 11th house. So I could see this date as potentially, if you have children, you might have a conflict with your children. You might get into an argument with them, or a friend, perhaps, and Saturn is in your friendship sector. A Saturnian figure like an elder or a boss, since Saturn also rules your 10th house of career and work. This could just be like you're deciding that you've come to a head with a group of friends and you no longer want to be a part of that group. So I could see this as the South Node eclipse exiting left of this friendship group and yeah, like essentially unfriending a bunch of people. This also, like I mentioned in the beginning, could be you letting go of a romantic situation, a situationship. For the Taurus risings, I said this to, I believe, the Scorpio risings who have the North Node going through here. If you are somebody who's trying to have children, it really depends on your natal chart. So take this all with a grain of salt. But if you don't want to have children, I would be careful because of the eclipses happening here, sudden endings and beginnings, right? And Venus will be here. So there might be more sexy time during this time. So if you are a Taurus rising and you don't want children, be careful. If you are a Taurus rising who is trying to have children, this might be an interesting time for you just because your chart ruler happens to be in the fifth house of children, and eclipses bring on faded endings and beginnings. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer. Not all of these transits will apply to everybody. On September 22nd, Mars will ingress into the sign of Scorpio, and this is your seventh house of one-on-one partnerships. And what's so interesting is that Mars is in its domicile in Scorpio, which, if you are in a partnership, if you are married, this could give more strength and power to your partner. However, this might come as a conflict to you since this is opposing you. So, your partner might be having a sudden surge of energy, a sudden surge of power, a sudden surge of like determination, but this could also bring conflict with you. You might be getting into more fights as Mars is going to oppose you, your rising sign. On the same day, the sun will ingress into Libra, which essentially is the fall equinox. And this again is your sixth house. So every Libra season, so every September, you go from like a fun, flirty Virgo season to then a more kind of like more serious sixth house season in Libra. This is the time to kind of like be really focused on your daily habits and rituals, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and having your habits support your life. Again, this is the house of working smarter, not harder. And this is also the house of pets and coworkers and your work environment. What I like about this month is that there will be in the middle of the month, like September 10th through like, I think 15, it's like a little reprieve between the eclipses. It's going, a lot of the transits during this time are really supportive. And then they get kind of dicey again with the eclipse towards the end of the month. And then September 23rd and 24th, there are these sets of grand air trines. And so this is between your second, 10th, and sixth houses. So the second house is your personal finances and income, right? Because that's your Gemini house. It's an air sign. And it will make a trine to your sixth house, which is, like I said, it's the house of your habits, your rituals, and they're all in a trine with your 10th house in Aquarius. So when you have a grand air trine like this, all of these houses are speaking to each other in a flow relationship. You have Pluto at the top of your chart there in Aquarius, and it's, trying to transform your public life and what you are known for, your career, and also the ways in which you make money, the second house, and then also your daily habits to support this. So this is really positive, and I would use this energy in a, because with any flowing aspect, this can also just mean that you're just busier, right? And I don't necessarily think that busier is better, but I would just be mindful of spending time on things that don't. The trick with the sixth house is that everything you do has to have a higher purpose. You can't just be busy for no reason. So just ask yourself throughout this month, like, I'm busy because this is like, I'm building up something bigger for the future, not because I'm over giving to a situation that doesn't deserve my energy. And then on September 24th, this is probably the most challenging aspect of the month. Mars and Scorpio will square Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is between your 7th and 10th house. So your partner, again, you might be having some like conflict with your partner, and also that conflict might be related to your work. Like, for example, if you are married or if you have a partner and you're like really busy at work and you're in a relationship where you also take on the burden of childcare, and you take care of the children, and you need your partner to step up, and you need your partner to take on more of the duty since you are busy at your work. This could be that kind of situation. It's not easy because you are a fixed rising sign. So this square is happening in your angular houses, 7th and 10th. Um, just be mindful of this day, the 24th of September. Um, and if you have a partner, tell your partner to be mindful of this day as well, since this is Mars in your partnership sector. So that is September for you. Thank you for being here and see you next month. Bye.